Hey there, Delilah. What's it like in New York City? What's good, YouTube? We about to be watching some Jimmy High Roller. He gonna be talking about what Jimmy Butler did wrong in the finals and shit and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? But first, catch this intro.
You're not the real you. I'm the real you.
In the world of sports, anything can happen. I remember when this shot went in and thinking in that moment I just witnessed history. Or when this shot had the entire basketball world standing still for what felt like an eternity before falling in and causing a chain reaction of events that would change the course of the NBA. Or the exact moment we all knew a 3-1 comeback in the finals was brewing, when we knew something big was going to happen and we would all be there to witness it. But despite all the seemingly impossible feats that we've seen take place, of all the improbable comebacks and unlikely stories, there is still one endeavor throughout NBA history that has yet to be accomplished. The 0-3 comeback, a deficit that 151 different teams have found themselves in, and none of them managed to pull off, including the team that I bet on.
The Heat are going to the NBA Finals.
Today's video is sponsored by Ticketing, anything and the SeatGeek. I can quickly get. And right now, the link to dollars off your first purchase. After falling to 0-3 in the Eastern Conference Finals against Miami, the Boston Celtics were given a 12.5% chance of winning the series. Odds that seemed unrealistically high considering no team has ever pulled off the dreaded 0-3 comeback. But after rallying together and
I ain't gonna lie, Boston sold.
rattling off 3 of the most important wins of their season, the Celtics found themselves with an opportunity to make history. Coming off of one of the most improbable last-second buzzer beaters to win Game 6.
Nah, that Derek White buzzer beater was crazy.
They had all the momentum. The Heat were deflated. Everything was in Boston's favor. My playoff prediction had somehow been resurrected. Hope was still alive. And so what did the Celtics do? They put together one of the most piss-poor Game 7 performances I've ever seen in my life. If you never hear me utter Jaylen Brown's name on this channel again, do not wonder why. Here's an idea. Learn how to dribble a basketball and stop shooting threes. And I would give Jason Tatum a pass for his Game 7 performance since he was playing on a bum ankle, if he didn't shoot 2 for 18 from 3 in his last 3 games. 11%
2 for 18
from 3 in consecutive playoff elimination games.
Yeah, Derek White
Brother,
putback was nasty.
hit a shot. And don't even get me started on Caleb first team All-NBA Martin. God forbid he just plays like a
Hey, he
normal
was
player
ballin'.
against the team that I bet on.
He was balling.
He has to morph into a human flamethrower for 7 games and rip the hearts out of whatever Boston fans are left after this monstrosity. Have y'all seen Caleb's splits from the Eastern Conference Finals? 19 points per game, 60% from the field, and 49% from 3.
60%, 49 from 3. That nigga was getting
That's
buckets.
74% true shooting percentage for the series. The man makes $6 million a year and outplayed Mr. $100 million contract second team All-NBA Jalen Dribble off my foot Brown.
Damn, that nigga checking that nigga Jalen.
I am sick to my stomach.
Hey, I don't like JB. JB need to go back in the lab, man.
But I gotta give credit where credit is due. The Miami Heat
Hemi?
are tough. They've got a great team with a bunch of guys ready and willing to do whatever it takes to win. There's no ego, there's no drama, it's just great basketball. A few weeks ago, I said that as sports fans, we love the underdog story, despite the fact that it very rarely happens. Well, it just did. Because the Miami Heat are just the second 8 seed in NBA history to make it to the NBA Finals. The last team to pull this off were the New York Knicks in the lockout season of 1999. But what the Heat have done this postseason has actually never been done before. Because the worst regular season team to ever make the finals in the modern NBA were the 1981 Houston Rockets, who somehow made the finals despite having a losing record in the regular season. But this year's Heat team is the first team since the 1959 Minneapolis Lakers to make the finals while carrying a negative point differential throughout the regular season, which means the Heat were essentially a below average team that somehow made it to the NBA Finals. So how does a team with absolutely no business even leaving a mark on the postseason manage to make it to the final stage just 4 wins away from an NBA title? Well, I want to take a moment to touch on a subject that I don't think gets talked about enough: the alpha. You know how in modern NBA discourse, whenever anyone brings up the alpha mentality, they're laughed at and dismissed like whatever they're referring to doesn't actually exist, or that it's even a misconception of some sort. To this day, especially older fans of the game will talk about how the greatest players of all time had the, don't make me say it, killer mentality. Over the years, this was a critical talking point among NBA fans on why some players found success in defining moments while others continued to fall short. This narrative in particular began to lose its credibility sometime over the last half-decade or so, as any player who didn't win a title was labeled as soft or lacking the killer mentality, despite there being about a million other factors that were failed to be considered. But we just saw firsthand what grit and determination and integrity and this elusive killer mentality that we've been dismissive of for years can do for a player and a team. Is Jimmy Butler more talented than Jason Tatum? No, and it's not particularly close. Is Caleb Martin nearly as talented as Jaylen Brown? Well, after this last series, I'd sure as hell say so, but really, no. Jaylen is the far more talented player. Should Gabe Vincent and Max Strus be starting throughout an entire conference finals series? Well, if talent was the deciding factor, then no.
I ain't gonna lie, the Heat was blicking shit. Oh my God, it was blicking shit.
But it's not. When you've got a leader who is willing to do whatever it takes to win and makes no excuses, rises to the occasion, and has the guts, no, the audacity to take on any challenge that stands in front of him, that mindset becomes contagious. Slowly, everyone on your team begins to believe, even if it's irrational, that they too are capable of anything.
Got that dog.
One of the reasons why I have Kobe Bryant ranked so high among my all-time greatest players, among other reasons, was his attitude towards the game. His fearless approach to whatever or whoever stood in his way was at times a fault, sure, but it was always daring and unashamed. Kobe missed a lot of shots, but one thing he never did was be afraid to take them. Not even for...
He missed a lot of shots, but he was not afraid to take them bitches.
For a moment in his entire career did he ever doubt himself. Kobe, similar to Michael Jordan,
Yeah, R.I.P. Kobe, man. R.I.P. the Mamba.
and what we're seeing in Jimmy Butler was the alpha of all alphas. If they were on your team, winning was not guaranteed, but one thing that was certain was that if they're going down swinging. What I saw from the Celtics, and even on a larger scale throughout the league, is almost some sort of mass extinction of the killer mentality. We always talk about talent and potential and skill sets, who can get a bucket, but what about the guy who refuses to lose? How many of those guys exist in today's NBA? Sure, Jason Tatum is talented, but is he truly willing to go to hell and back to win? The idea of a player who possesses an unshakable will to win at all costs, a killer mentality, is not just some sort of myth built up on nostalgia or personal bias or narrative. It is a real, tangible thing. It's funny because Jimmy Butler isn't nearly the best player in the NBA, and yet we can't help but to see shades of Michael Jordan in him when he's on the court. It's not because he's an era-defining talent. It's not because he can defy gravity or inspire an entire generation. It's because he's a winner, a leader, the bedrock.
Some of these niggas don't got the same mindset
Of what every championship team needs. He backs up every word that comes out of his mouth. He doesn't make excuses. He leads by example, and he will do anything to win. And this isn't just some reactionary take on the outcome of these games. Even if the Celtics won this series against the Heat, I still think the vastly talented duo of Tatum and Brown, like many other players, would have accomplished it off of sheer talent and possibly execution. But what happens when the shots stop falling? What happens when the defense figures you out and your bag isn't enough? What happens when it gets quiet and everyone's looking at you, waiting for an answer? Whenever a player or a team wins, the reaction is always the same. Excitement, joy, relief, but you might find out a lot more by paying attention to how a player reacts when they lose. You can't fake this. Are they genuinely upset? Are they hell-bent on getting better, being the best? Sure, there's not a single player who takes joy in losing, but what about the player who is tormented by loss? If a player lacks this quality,
Jimmy, I don't lie, that nigga Jimmy is spit. That nigga is cooking something up, something nice.
I'm not sure if talent will simply fill the gap. I don't know.
Cause like I would say most of these niggas like they care about losing, but like not to the extent of some other niggas. Like they millionaires for example. Like it's that extra fucking push, that extra dive on the floor to grab the ball and shit.
There's just something about a player who cannot accept losing. You know it when you see it, and you sure as hell know it when you don't. Either that, or I'm just mad that the team that I bet on fell short of a championship for the second season in a row. I hate the Celtics.
Damn. Hey, WVid, man. Go ahead, like that. Go ahead, like that. I like that one. You like mine type shit. And on that note, W stream, man. I'm gonna go ahead and get off. I hope you have a nice night.